Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar. We're going to give everybody about another minute here to jump on, so just hold tight and we'll start at about 2 minutes past the hour. All right, looks like it's about that time. Well, welcome everyone and thanks for joining us today. Today's webinar is focused on the Action for Healthy Kids 2019-2020 School Grants for Healthy Kids grant opportunities, specifically our Game On grant opportunities. I'm going to be the main presenter and speaker during today's webinar. My name is Christina Shelton, and I am a program manager here at Action for Healthy Kids. My colleague, Ashley Green, as you can see her face on the screen, is joining me on the back end. She's going to be answering your questions throughout the webinar. You're going to hear her a little bit periodically throughout the webinar as well, just kind of sharing some feedback and answering some questions. So I think that will be really helpful for us today. And so keep those questions coming throughout the presentation. We'll try to answer them throughout, and then we'll also have some time after the webinar as well. Let's review some logistics before we get started. So once you're linked in, you're going to see a control panel. Usually it's on the right-hand side of your screen. You can use your telephone or speakers to listen to today's presentation, but everyone will be muted to avoid static and background interference. There's going to be a dialog box at the bottom of your control panel. You can type questions into the dialog box as we're going along, and we'll try to get them answered later in the presentation or via email following the webinar. So sometimes there's questions that we can't and we don't have the time to answer. We'll just follow up with you after we wrap up today. We are recording today's webinar, so links to the recording and all of the handouts will be sent to you within 2 to 3 business days after our session today. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk through our agenda for today's session. First, I'll give you a little bit of a background on Action for Healthy Kids and the work that we do with schools. Then we'll briefly cover all of our 2019-2020 grant opportunities. We're going to spend most of our time today talking about grants, Game On grants specifically. These grants are associated with our Game On program. You might be familiar with that program. And so we'll also cover what that entails as well. And then later on, we'll discuss some project ideas, how to apply, important deadlines, and give you some tips for applying. The goal here is so that after our session today, you'll feel really supported and strong and confident about being able to submit a solid grant project application to hopefully get funded for the 1920 school year. And as I mentioned, we will be answering questions throughout the webinar, so this is a good opportunity to get those questions answered and addressed so that you can start your application after today. So let's talk a little bit about Action for Healthy Kids and who we are. We believe in a vision of a world in which every kid is healthy, active, and ready to learn. We fight childhood obesity, undernourishment, and physical inactivity by helping schools become healthier places. Our network is made up of families, teachers, students, school and community leaders, and school wellness experts, and all of you on today's webinar who have banded together to help create healthier learning environments for our kids. Ultimately, we believe that everyone has a part to play in ending the nation's childhood obesity epidemic, and our programs, tools, and resources help to make that possible. Our goal is to create school communities where kids learn how to make healthy choices from the moment they walk in the front door of the school building to the minute when they leave at the end of the day. We were founded in 2002 by former Surgeon General David Satcher. Today we have over more than 130,000 members and constituents in our network. We also partner with dozens of professional associations, government agencies, corporations at the national, state, and local community levels. And so while health is in our name and we focus on health, we know that our work goes far beyond improving the health of kids. We know that kids who are healthy and active have better success academically. And I mention this because our school grants are not just about making kids healthier, but they are about helping kids being better equipped to learn and really having that greater reach throughout the school building, perhaps into families and teachers and staff, So it's really a comprehensive view of wellness and health. So I'm going to pause there. Before we get into more details, I want to learn a little bit more about yourself, and Ashley is going to open up a poll for us.
You should see this is Ashley. You should see the poll up on your screen. It looks like we have some answers coming in. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds, and then I will share a little bit about who's on the call today.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, and the question is, how would you describe yourself? So you can go ahead and pick a selection, and we'll see who's on the call.
Awesome. So it looks like we have about 45% of the call are school teachers or a staff member. We have 18% that are school district staff member. We have a large group of community members or somebody who works for a community organization. And then we also have a handful of parents or caregivers.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, everybody, for taking the poll. We actually have one more. We're going to do a second poll. And this question is, has your school ever applied for an Action for Healthy Kids grant? So Ashley, I'll turn that back over to you.
Thanks. It is up on the screen. We have some answers coming in. So in just a few seconds, I'll share with you what those responses look like. All right, so it looks like the majority of the call today are individuals who have not applied for an Action for Healthy Kids grant. So welcome to Action for Healthy Kids. We do have a handful who have applied in the past, majority on Game On or parents.
Great, thank you. All right, so welcome, newcomers. Welcome to the webinar and the session today. And those of you that have applied in the past, welcome back. That's one of the things I love about the work that we do is we really create some nice opportunities for, schools that have been with us for a while to connect with new schools. So maybe we'll have some time to kind of get into that a little bit later today. Thanks, Ashley. So now that we covered a background on who we are and why we work with schools, and we got to hear a little bit more about you, let's talk some high level about our grants, and we'll get into the weeds a little bit later in our presentation today. So our grants the Game On grants range from about $1,000 and up. We will be awarding grants to K-12 schools, parent groups like PTOs or PTAs or other parent committees. School health and wellness teams are also eligible as well at a K-12 school. A quick note here that is really important is that grants cannot be awarded to community-based or nonprofit organizations. These grants are intended to be awarded to schools and school groups. So I want to kind of clarify that here, because if you are a nonprofit or a community organization that works with a school, you can have that school apply and you can be a part of that application and a part of that grant project. The clarification point here is that we don't give the money to community organizations or nonprofits. The money needs to go to a school. So if you have additional clarifying questions or comments about that, we can take them throughout today, and we can also get back to you after the session this afternoon. Also of note, K-12 simply refers to schools that serve any grades K through 12. It does not have to be a K-12 institution where all grades are served. Grants can be awarded to elementary, middle, or high schools. If you are from an early childhood center that serves pre-K as well, so like that 4K or 3K, we can fund your school only if you have a kindergarten or higher grades in your building, and grant funds must benefit those older kids as well. So again, clarifying questions or comments, we can get into that a little bit later, because we know that a lot of our schools kind of get caught up into those like gray areas. Let's talk about our three grant options for the 1920 school year. First, our breakfast grants focus on implementing new alternative breakfast initiatives. We're not going to get into a lot of the details on breakfast today just for the sake of time, but if you are interested in learning more about breakfast and how you can expand breakfast to increase ADP and the types of breakfast offerings that you have on your menu, we do have a breakfast grant webinar tomorrow, and we can send that link out to you guys today, so if you can register if you're interested. For the physical activity and nutrition grants, we have 2 grants available. Both types are physical activity and nutrition. The Game On requires both physical activity and nutrition, and then the parent-led grant, it's physical activity for one application and then nutrition for a separate application. And if you applied for a parent-led grant in the past, it was combined. For the 1920 year, you'll actually see those as being built out separately. The Game On grants, again, require both physical activity and nutrition. They also require a school level applicant, as well as the names and the commitments of the principal, the PE teacher, and the food service manager. And again, you'll want to submit that on your application, and then there will be some additional information when schools are awarded through the MOU process. I'm also going to point out here that schools cannot apply for both the Game On and parent-led grants. You do need to pick. The parent-led grants require a parent-level lead to oversee that grant application. That's why it's called parent-led. So if you are not a parent, you should, I would suggest that you look at those Game On grants. If you are a parent, you can simply also do Game On, but you also, I would encourage you to share the parent-led grants. If you have other schools and contacts that are looking for grant funding, you could go ahead and encourage other schools to apply, maybe in your district or in your community. Schools cannot apply for both Game On and parent, though. Just keep that in mind. You can apply for breakfast and Game On and breakfast or parent-led. It's just those physical activity and nutrition ones where it can be a little confusing. So let's talk about some of the fun impacts of our Game On grants, because I think it's interesting when you start talking about what does the application look like and how does this actually work. And I love the idea of using quotes and pictures here to give you a sense of what our grant project winners do. This one comes out of a funded school out of Illinois. It says, the Action for Healthy Kids grant has truly been a game changer for us. I was able to introduce the students to new games such as Omnikin Ball, as well as more structured fitness stations. I was also able to purchase new basketballs and softballs. It's coming out of a physical education teacher, and we know that we have a number of PE teachers that look to our Game On grants to help fund their physical education equipment needs. So we've been talking a lot about Game On and the Game On grants. Let's get into a little bit more about what the Game On program is. Our Game On grant offerings are associated with the Game On program. So the Game On program was developed to support schools and staff and students and families on incorporating healthy food choices and physical activity into their daily lives and school environment, with the ultimate goal of getting nationally recognized as a health promoting school. So based on our work with other schools that have used Game On and also have been funded through Game On grants, what we found is that schools can go from starting a brand new school health team or a school wellness council or a school health advisory board, whatever you call it, but you go from that team to a nationally recognized health promoting school in about 3 years or less. However, it doesn't matter where your school is with wellness initiatives, whether you're just starting out or you've been around for years. Game On can serve as a tool to provide you with resources and ideas to help you continuously improve your wellness programming. It can also be used to complement existing programming that you may already have in place. It's really designed to be your one-stop shop for all things school wellness. And Game On is designed to be, it's a 6-step process to build a healthy school. If you're awarded a Game On grant, your school will essentially be going through these steps during the grant process. So the first step is gathering your team. This is when you'll be identifying champions and volunteers and staff and parents and teachers to help serve on your team to lead this work. We recommend that you include at least 5 members on your team to ensure that you have the capacity to implement your initiatives. You know, a lot of times you'll see in schools where it's sort of like a lone ranger or one person who's leading it. And what happens is we know that that's not sustainable because that person can get burned out. They don't have a great reach, or maybe they even leave the school and the wellness team sort of ends up falling, kind of dismantling. So having that team really helps with that sustainability piece and to ensure that you have the reach that you need for success. Step 2 is assessing and tracking progress. So this is where you'll be using the School Health Index to identify areas of improvement. Step 3 is where you'll create an action plan. And then here is when you'll be using your wellness team to essentially build out that action plan. Step 4, this is really the bulk of Game On. So using the Game On blueprint to identify activities and resources that align with your school's needs. In the Game On Step 4 Find Activities, you will find more than 80 Eat Better, Move More Game On activities that include resources and ideas and tips for implementing at your school. So these are really where a lot of our schools spend most of their time in Game On. In Step 5, this is engaging families and communities. So you'll be partnering with families and volunteers to promote consistent messages, to host events, and ensure sustainability. All of our awarded schools are asked to host an Every Kid Healthy Week in April of 2020, so it's always in April, to engage parents in the local school community around your wellness efforts. And then finally, Step 6, right? This is when you get recognized for all of the great work that you've done and for being a health promoting school. Action for Healthy Kids provides technical assistance and resources to awarded schools and throughout the process to help you get the recognition you deserve for your hard work. So as you can see here, the 6-step process is designed to be a cycle that schools complete every year because we know the work is never done, right? You're always kind of coming back and looking at it with a fresh set of eyes with different kids and new activities. So for each example, at the beginning of the year, you focus on that team, you work through the steps, and you build sustainability year over year. And as I mentioned here, as you see on Step 4 with that big red circle there, again, this is where you see the bulk of the activities. When you're looking for things such as, brain breaks and taste test ideas and ways to engage parents in PE, this is the area that you'll find some great ideas, especially for your grant project. So I'm going to quickly show you how to access Game On online. First, when you pull up our website at actionforhealthykids.org, you'll open it up in a web browser. And then once you arrive, click on the first tab at the top that says Tools for Schools. I'm sorry, that's the second tab, Tools for Schools, and that's circled right here on your screen. So that will always take you to Game On. And then as you go to Tools for Schools, you'll see that Game On is over here on the right side of your screen. It's again circled in red, and this will take you to the Game On website. And once you come to the website, feel free to explore. On the right-hand side over here, you'll see the 6 steps that we just went through. And then you'll also see Step 4, which is that Find Activities, again, where I keep sort of pointing you to. But again, great resources and all the steps that you see. And again, I suggest navigating through and around and sort of poking around and seeing what is of interest. The other thing I'll point out too is that every month we do have a Game On activity of the month. So that sort of connects to themes and like what maybe is happening in the month or the seasons. So these are also some fresh, new, creative ways to get kids healthy and active and eating healthy foods. You can also, on that main screen, you'll also see a map of the school, and you also can navigate the Game On program that way as well. And when you click on these different areas, it will take you and start to show you a list of the different Game On activities that are available to you. Here are just some of the Eat Better activities that we have. As I sort of mentioned earlier, everything from taste tests to breakfast in the classroom to smart snacks and nutrition education, healthy, active, non-food rewards. So a really extensive and ever-growing list of best practices and fun examples of ways that you can have your students be eating healthier. And then here on your screen, again, a list of our Move More activity examples. So things such as indoor and outdoor recess, active learning, walking school bus, open gym, walking programs, and get your groove on. I want to point out too that of our nutrition and our Eat Better, Move More activities, they can serve all kids K through 12. I would say that a lot of our activities, especially for the Move More, I tend to hear feedback that they are a little bit more aligned with the elementary age. But I think as professionals in the teaching field, you can still take some of those best practices and ideas and tailor them to the older kids. And that's definitely something that Action for Healthy Kids will be working to improve in the future, is building out some more content for our older kiddos as well. Okay, Ashley, so I've been talking for a while. I'm going to pause there. Were there any questions or anything that you think I should go back and give further clarification to?
Yeah, so we had a lot of great questions come through. One of the biggest questions was around what types of schools are eligible to apply, yep. Including charter schools and private schools. So are you able to clarify just a little bit more about what schools are eligible to apply?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those schools that you just listed, private schools, charter schools, public schools, Catholic schools, religious schools, as long as it's a K-12 school, they are eligible to apply for this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else?
We have a couple other questions coming in, more so specifically around individual types of projects.
Okay.
But other than that, I think we're good.
Okay, great. And we can always kind of get to those two at the end if we need additional time.
Awesome.
Additional time. Perfect. All right, so let's move on to the Game On grants themselves. I know we talked a little bit about these to kick off our session today, so we're going to get more into the weeds. So our Game On grants, as I mentioned earlier, require a physical activity and nutrition component. Schools are going to be receiving $1,000 or more in grant funding, with most schools receiving $1,000. These grants are intended for schools. We ask all applicants to, again, identify the names of their principals and their PEs and their food service manager when you do your application and your MOU, if you are terms and conditions, if you are awarded. When you are awarded, we also ask for your 5-person health and wellness team. So remember that step 1 in Game On. So you'll be submitting the names of those and contact information of those 5 people so that the project doesn't just fall on one person. We want it to be a whole team effort. So be thinking about who's on that team, you guys, and I encourage you to involve them in the application process and maybe even share with them this webinar after our session today. And all states are eligible for Game On grants. If you're interested in the parent-led grants, which I had mentioned earlier, we do have specific states that are eligible. So I can follow up with that information with this webinar follow-up. I'll include that information as well for the parent-led so you have that for your records. But for Game On, it is all states. So when you apply for a Game On grant, we are going to ask you to specify what or which physical activity and nutrition strategy you are going to work on. And remember, you have to do one from each of these. So you're going to want to do your best to classify your project within the strategies that are provided here on your screen. We do have an other category. You'll see that's the last category on each, the physical activity and nutrition. So you have some flexibility. But this list really, we try to be as inclusive as possible within the best practices that schools tend to focus on for physical activity and nutrition. Remember, we are looking for projects that are creative, that are going to have the greatest reach, and that we know have a tried and true history of working for schools. So in the physical activity section, you see again here things outdoor and indoor active recess, play space, PE equipment, gymnasium refurbishing, brain breaks, physical activity before and after school programming, fitness assessments, walk and bike to school and other, and then in nutrition education, school gardens, salad bars, smarter lunchrooms, healthier fundraisers, celebrations and rewards, taste tests, cooking classes, water access, and healthy snacking. So when you apply for a Game On grant, let's see here. Okay, I had to click that to get all those down. I was wondering why that wasn't all there. We're asking you to specify your strategy, but these are some of the ways that the project could look within those different strategies. These are some of the things that our schools have done in the past. This is not a comprehensive list, but again, these are sort of creative ways that the projects have shown up in schools. So we've had schools do yoga classes and bike racks, monthly family fitness nights. We've had classroom teachers buy movable equipment in the classroom, such as stability balls or wobble chairs, creating kinesthetic learning labs and movement spaces in classrooms. Indoor recess. We had a bunch of schools last year in Wisconsin did indoor recess carts and activity books that could be rolled around in the hallway, and teachers could come and grab what they needed to have indoor active recess. So again, not an exhausting list, but some really creative examples here that had a wide reach and were widely successful. I'm going to go back, and here are some of the ones from nutrition. We have schools doing, Rethink Your Drink, nutrition education, schools doing nutrition workshops with families and cooking classes and students, taste tests. We've had schools that do taste tests for new school meal options or taste testing like greens that have been grown in a school garden. Healthy fundraisers are really great, salad bars. So again, not an exhausting list, and you'll see from the pictures here that these are really exciting projects that have a long-term impact on learning and on community. So our Game On grants, we are looking for you to implement at least one activity to increase one or more of the following. So your physical activity portion of the grant should increase the physical activity minutes of your student body. So that would include increasing that to at least 30 minutes per day, or if you're already at 30 minutes of physical activity per day, we're looking and asking for you to increase by 10%. The second option is increasing the percentage of students participating in physical activity initiatives. So typically this shows up in like recess and PE, because if we can provide additional equipment and additional opportunities, then we can reduce the wait time as students wait to participate in activities. And then the third option here is percentage of time students engage in moderate to vigorous. So increasing that mod to vigorous count so that students are not in that low physical activity zone, but really getting their heart rate up and starting to sweat and warm up their bodies. The focus of the nutrition initiative is, again, one of the four. It could be more than one, but increasing the knowledge of healthy foods and beverages, increasing consumption of healthy foods and beverages, attitudes of healthy foods, and also improving the school nutrition environment. So again, you have to focus on both, and you will be picking at least one goal of both physical activity and nutrition. Our Game On grant award winners are also asked to provide information on physical activity and nutrition to students and parents throughout the school year. You were also asked to be working toward becoming a health promoting school throughout your grant project. And we also asked you to host a healthy and community engaging event during Every Kid Healthy Week in 2020. And those schools that have done that in Every Kid Healthy Week, just to note here that sometimes April is not the best time for some schools, and that is absolutely okay. We often have schools that host events in March or early April, or sometimes even into May, so we're more than happy to work with you. This also doesn't have to be something new. Oftentimes schools have a field day or another family-friendly event that they can turn into their Every Kid Healthy Week event. So our Every Kid Healthy Week will be held in April 2020, and it is just a really fun way to promote a family and student-friendly event that is really, truly engaging. I just love this picture here. Okay, so in addition to the grant requirements, another really exciting opportunity that is new for our schools this year for the 19 and 20 school year is that all of our awarded schools will be automatically enrolled into Active Schools, the Active Schools program. So Active Schools is now a partner of Action for Healthy Kids, and schools will be automatically enrolled. And what Active Schools is all about is dedicating, its time and our resources to making it easier for schools to create an active school environment by working on two fronts. By supporting schools in their current reality, by serving as a hub for best practices and programs and resources to increase physical activity and physical education, and also by driving education system and policy change that engages champions, influencers, and decision makers to increase support of physical learning, thus enabling schools to educate the whole child. So what does this actually mean? What this means is when you are enrolled, you'll receive, as a champion, a monthly e-newsletter with access to all the latest information and free resources to help keep kids active. And if you're already enrolled, great. You don't have to be re-enrolled. But if you have your school health team and you're not enrolled, this will be an additional benefit of being an award winner. And this could be your parents, your teachers, your administrators, your community members. Really, it's anyone who's passionate about helping kids reach their greatest potential. And just so you guys have an idea of the reach of Active Schools, which I think is really powerful, we're talking about more than 90 public and private sector partner organizations, 37,000 individual champions, 23,000 schools, and over 13.6 million students served. So through a collective impact model, Active Schools really looks at our complex societal programs and provides those supports that we know schools need to create active spaces. Oh, I do want to point out here as well that forgot to mention that if schools want to opt out of the automatic enrollment into the Active Schools program, you will have the opportunity to do that. During our terms and conditions, once you've been awarded and you're signing your terms and conditions, there will be an opt-out option. Obviously, we're hoping that a lot of our schools will decide to accept that automatic enrollment. We think it's really a valuable resource, but that will be an option for you. Okay, let's talk about some of the reporting deliverables. So we talked about the grant requirements, we talked about the different options, how the grant project shows up as different strategies, and then in creative ways that it kind of develops in the school environment. And I know this is a burning question for a lot of people. So what are the other requirements that the grant, will be required of grant project leaders? So the first piece is once you are awarded will be to submit your terms and conditions to accept the grant. All of our terms and conditions and our applications and all that is online, and I'll show you how to access that in just a few slides. We also require that schools that are awarded complete an abbreviated version of the School Health Index at the beginning and end of the grant award. So when you get your terms and conditions, you'll complete an initial School Health Index, and then you'll complete it at the end of the grant as well. And the reason why we have you do that twice is we're really looking for change over time. Are there differences and variances in your School Health Index score that indicate that you have improved and sort of made steps toward that health promoting status? You also will be completing a midterm report and submitting 2 photos that will be due in December of 2019. As I had mentioned earlier, you'll be participating in Every Kid Healthy Week, and in April of 2020, here you see a survey because we often will ask you what you're doing and sort of trying to capture some of that data, but the week itself is typically in April. And then at the end of the grant report, you will be completing a final report and submitting 3 photos, and that will be in May of 2020. So Ashley, I'm going to pause there. I know, again, a lot of information being thrown out. Any questions or clarifications that we should take a moment to get into?
Yeah, so I think some of the biggest questions that came through were around specific projects and understanding that the Game On grants do require a nutrition and a physical activity component, but that there's no explicit division of how those projects look. So one project may be larger or take more of the school health team's attention and the funds than another. But as long as both of those components are included in the application, then they're good to go. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's really a wonderful aspect of this grant. And I'm glad you kind of brought it back to that, because we know that different schools have different needs. And so we want to meet you where you are and what's going to work for you and your students and your staff. So yes, we know that we have some schools that spend more money and maybe a little bit more time, maybe in a nutrition aspect, and that physical activity is there, like maybe a supplemental like piece. And so it doesn't have to be, like, as you said, Ashley, like a 50-50 divide. Really think about what your school needs and what your students need, and then make sure that your project, as long as you're doing something for both and that it's sustainable and over time, you're going to be good to go. So let's talk about some things that we are looking for. So yay, projects that we love, right? Our school is building a walking trail and hosting quarterly health fairs along the trail to promote healthy eating and encourage families to use the trail. So why do we love this? Because it's something that can be used over time. It can be used in many different spaces and avenues within the school environment. It connects not only to students and staff, but also families as well. Every class will do a monthly taste test and physical activity breaks 3 to 5 times a week. Again, integrating that physical activity and nutrition, as we were just talking, giving us sort of that numerical value of how often you want to do that, maybe within a week or even a month, and being very specific in the description. And then the last one, our school will do daily morning announcements about healthy eating and have weekly trivia and raffles about the information shared. We will also host monthly family fitness nights for students and parents. What I love about this description is that it really gives us a comprehensive lens of the work, and we're able to see how it connects from one to the other. So you can see that the announcements connect to the trivia and the raffles, and then that connects to the family fitness.
think about that strategically, you guys, when you're working on your project and sort of flushing out an idea. We want it to be comprehensive and connected. So what are some things we maybe don't love? So maybe some nay projects. So our school will purchase PE equipment. Can you use funding for PE equipment? You absolutely can. But if you're only doing that for PE and then you're missing the nutrition initiative. So ensure that maybe your PE classes, maybe you're going to get some team nutrition materials, maybe you're integrating some nutrition right into your PE classes, or maybe you're working with your classroom teachers to offer, nutrition or taste tests. So definitely consider where that piece fits. The second nay, our school will start a running club and do a taste test during our Every Kid Healthy Week event. So why is this a nay? Well, it's not ongoing. So think about if your project is just doing like a one-off project, it's a one-time only. The impact and the sustainability of that event is obviously very limited because it's one time. So think about ways that you can have your project for physical activity and nutrition really be consistent over the course of the year and connected to sort of a long-term vision and understanding of cultural shifts within wellness. And then the last one, our school will purchase and train teachers on a nutrition education curriculum, and we'll do a family fitness night. So sounds great, right? They're going to do a family fitness night and they're going to do nutrition education. But the physical activity initiative isn't ongoing. So one family fitness night is not ongoing. So again, ongoing, connected, and measurable are really the keys here. Okay, so what are some steps to apply? Let's get moving. So the first thing is to complete the paper application with your team. We will send that link out to you so that you have a PDF copy of the paper application. I would highly suggest, and I'm going to say it again because this happens every year, I would highly suggest that you complete a paper version of the application on your computer and save that version so that when you are copying and pasting your application details into the school portal, which is an online page, if something happens with the technology, you don't lose your entire application. Also then if you start on it as a Word doc or maybe a Google Doc, then your team can work on it collaboratively. So then one person, that point person, would be the person who submits it onto the school portal. Also, make sure you check your character counts, not your word counts, because there are limits on our portal. Our application does indicate specific word counts, and you'll also see that on the online portal as well. Because many of the open-ended responses, you don't just get to go on and on. We really are looking for a sharp and concise and clear project plan. Think about writing the application as if the person reviewing it knew nothing about your school. So this can be really challenging when you know your school and your kiddos and your staff. So really think about being as descriptive as possible, and even consider maybe having an external reviewer, someone that knows nothing about the project, read it, have them ask you questions and poke holes at it, and then you can go back in and rework it and address those issues. And then after you've done all of this, you'll submit the grant application on the online portal. Note here that no paper applications are accepted. We do ask our schools and our champions to submit that application through our school grant portal. Okay, so I'm going to show you where the portal is so you can get to it and submit your application, because the applications are live. You can get in there and start submitting these. So you're going to navigate to the School Grants for Healthy Kids website, which is on our Action for Healthy Kids page. You'll see here it's actionforhealthykids.org/grants. Once you go to that page, you're then going to click on Apply Now, which then you'll be directed to the Action for Healthy Kids school portal. If you have an account, you'll simply log in. If you do not have an account, you'll need to create an account. So just by simply putting your name, your last name, first name, email address, and choosing a password. Once you get logged in, this is going to take you right to the home screen. So this is how it looks when you will pull it up. So the first thing that you'll see here is a welcome screen. You'll also have some different statistics at the top that will talk about how many grants we have and how much money has been given away. But you're going to want to shift your focus to the left side on that red circle over there where it says My School. So once you go to the My Schools page, here's where you're going to add or manage your schools and update your profile. So you can also do that as well, and you can put in your email address and your personal information. So when you go to My School, you're going to click Add or Manage Schools because you want to affiliate yourself with your school or schools, because you can do more than one school in here. So once you go into My Schools, you're going to type in your zip code and search by zip code. So once you have the zip code, it will drop down by all the schools associated with that zip code, and you can simply add and enter and affiliate as many schools as you would like. If you find that your school is not showing up, the first thing is to check your zip code, because oftentimes people enter in the wrong zip code, and that could be the issue. If you enter that in and your school is still not showing up, what you'll do here is you'll just navigate over to the right side of your screen where it says, can't find your school, please download this new school form. So what you'll do is you'll just print that form out, fill in the information, email it over to us at schoolgrants@AFHK. We'll add your school. We'll let you know when it's in. And then once your school is added, you can get back into the school portal and affiliate yourself with your school. So once you've affiliated, and you can go over to the grants side, it's going to be right over here. There's going to be your grant options for 2019, and you'll see all 4 of the grant options in front of you. We've got the Game On grant, the parent grants, the nutrition grants for parents, and also our school breakfast. Given that this is a Game On webinar, we're going to assume that you're going to be applying for a Game On grant as we move forward. But of course, it's the same process to affiliate and choose a grant, whether it's Game On or any of the other 3 grants that you see on the screen here. So once you click on the Game On grant, we'll take you to the initial page for the Game On grant details. And this will just tell you here, you'll see the applicable states, and it basically indicates that the schools for Game On will be awarded $1,000 or more to support physical activity and nutrition. So once you decide that you're ready to submit, you're going to click Start an Application for a Single School. Once you go in there, because you've affiliated already in the few steps that we've already gone through, you'll see your school from this drop-down box. If your school is not in this drop-down box, you need to go back to the My Schools tab and just affiliate, and then that school, your school should show up there. And then click Go. So you're here, you finally got to the application, right? This is what you've been waiting for. This is when you're going to take that information from that Word doc or that Google Doc and start to move it into each section of the application. So as you enter it in, checking for those character counts, saving as you go, these are the different sections of the grant project, which will align with the grant application, the Word version of the application. So it will walk you through the application. Again, saving as you go, and when you get to the end, you can either hit Save Your Progress or Submit. And if you're hitting Submit and everything is in, it will head it over and be submitted. If you are missing some information, sometimes it will give you an error and you have to go back and add something. That's when our regional managers and our state coordinators and our staff will help you. If there's some sort of technology issue that's preventing you to submit, we'll help work you through that process. All right, Ashley, again, a lot of information, how to submit, how to work through the portal. Anything I might have missed or any questions?
No, so I'm working through the questions, answering most of them. I think one thing that I just want to echo that you had just shared, one big question that keeps coming through is around who to contact. And so everyone has either a state coordinator or a regional manager that they can work with. And those are your points of contact for all things related to school health and wellness. They can help you submit the applications, especially if you are working in a district and you want to apply for multiple schools. So please, I would just echo just to encourage you to reach out to them. They're happy and eager to help. Yeah,
thanks, Ashley. And yes, absolutely. And I think well, there's many reasons why I love Action for Healthy Kids in our grant project and our grant process, but the people power that are here to help you are incredible, and we'll definitely share that contact information with all of you, both in this presentation and after today. So you'll have all of that. All right, so just some other tips. Again, you'll need to create a login and register if you don't have one. You'll need to set up your school portal profile in the My Profile tab. You remember you need to affiliate yourself with your schools. It's pretty intuitive once you get into that portal, and you'll kind of see how to maneuver and how to work through the system. But again, these are just some pretty high-level tips. Click on the grants that you want to see, what grants are available, and then just choose the grant that you want to begin entering your application. Some other tips that are helpful as you are looking to submit that application is, the first one is to use the most up-to-date version of internet browsers, both Google Chrome and Foxfire. We know that that has been an issue for folks. So if you find that an internet browser is not working for you, I would definitely suggest that you try or see if you need to update your version. Save often, right? This is the biggest issue that comes up year after year. So again, going back to my suggestion, save your document as a Word doc, type up your answers, copy and paste, and then move them into the portal and save as you go. Because we've had schools in the past, just because of the way technology is, that something happens, their computer shuts down or whatever, and they lose everything. Sometimes we can find that information and sometimes we can't. But if you have it saved in another document, you're saving as you go, you're going to be less likely to lose that. Move through the application by clicking the tabs at the top that will go through the sections with the application. Again, character counts are huge. And if there are errors when you submit, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see an error box at the top of the portal, and you want to address the error and then resubmit until all the errors have been fixed. And remember, we're here to help, so you're not alone. So don't panic. We will help you submit your application. Okay, a couple things about the grant budget. So every school is required to submit a grant budget of $1,000. We know that some of our schools will receive a grant amount of more than $1,000. And if that is your school, we will work with you to adjust your grant budget after you have been awarded. So $1,000 is the standard grant budget for the application. The portal will not accept funds over the grant amount. So your grant budget should equal $1,000 when you submit your grant. Funds cannot be used for staffing, and this is huge. I'm going to say this again. Funds cannot be used for staffing. So if you want to have a yoga teacher come in and teach yoga once a week, you can use the money to cover yoga mats and yoga books and yoga equipment and whatever you need for the yoga program, but you can't use the money to cover and pay for the yoga teacher. And the reason for that is simply it's not sustainable over the long course of time. Because once you're done paying for that yoga teacher and the money runs out, then how are you going to pay for it moving forward? So definitely something critical to remember as you work on your application. Funds will be dispersed in 2 payments. You will receive 70% of the funding upon completion of your terms and conditions and the school health index at the beginning of the school year. Once you do your midterm report in December, then you will get the rest of the money, that 30%, typically in January of the following year. So that would be January of 2020. If your project requires more funding than our grant provides, so say you are doing a school beautification project in your gym, it's going to cost $5,000, and $1,000 of the Game On grant is going to go towards that $5,000. Please be clear in your project details how you are going to provide the additional funding from other sources. So maybe you're doing fundraisers and there's other grants and so forth. We just want to be able to know that the money will be able to go to a project that you can successfully pull off. And if there's anything in the grant description buckets, like once you get in there, that you're not spending money on. So for example, you're not going to spend money on project evaluation, just enter a 0 into that budget line item and put in like, not applicable or NA or, we're not going to do this. Just put something into that field because if you don't, then you will get an error when you try to submit your grant budget. Okay, general tips. We've talked about a lot of these. Again, look at the grant application. We also have a grant application instructions guide. This guide is really critical because it will give you more detailed information about the questions, the grant, and how to complete the grant application. So use that as a companion to the application itself. Make sure that your physical activity and nutrition initiative descriptions clearly describe what you want to do. Remember, clarity is huge. Think about describing it to someone who has no idea what you're doing. Remember that you can apply for a breakfast grant and Game On or parent, but you cannot apply for both parent and Game On grant. And lastly, get creative. So if there is something that you've been dying to do, something that is innovative, something that is unique, something that really pushes ideas forward and is kind of out of the box, we love to see these ideas. So really get creative in this grant project and have fun with it. So what can Action for Healthy Kids do to help? We have this webinar today because we believe in providing support to you all so that you can be successful in your grant application. So we also can help you review and give feedback on your application. And as Ashley had mentioned earlier, we will give you their contact information and their email and their phone number so that you can reach out to whoever your regional manager and state coordinator is. If you are interested, I would suggest that you work with your regional manager or state coordinator, ask them to review your application or connect with them for questions. They are amazing. They are dedicated. They're experts in their field, and they are definitely looking to help you and support you and give you that feedback. Remember that Game On is also there, so all those activities in step 4 can help you with your project. If you're trying to still flush out some ideas, go on to Game On, look around, see if some of those resources can support. Remember, you don't have to create ideas out of thin air. There's really great ideas out there, and Game On is a great place to start. We also have content-specific webinars, so we'll share that link with you. That can also help you to keep you in the learning zone to consider new and exciting ideas. We have a Facebook. We have a School Health Teams discussion group, a closed Facebook group that we can invite you into. We also have an Action for Healthy Kids Facebook page as well as other social media. We have newsletters and resources and materials. Our regional managers and state coordinators do trainings and workshops and events all over the country to help schools create healthy learning environments for their students. And of course, communication and community engagement is key. We want to get our stories out, sharing our best practices, and talking about the great work that you do. So all of this really comes together to be supportive in your work. So important dates moving forward. This grant application is due Friday, April 5th, so please mark your calendars. I know everybody has a tendency to wait until the end to submit your application. If it is all possible, I would suggest that you submit it earlier rather than later, because that last week we have a number of people that get into the portal and are trying to do it at the last minute. It can cause quite a level of stress. So if you can get in prior to, I recommend it. Word notifications will go out on Monday, May 13th. You will be notified whether you have been awarded or not on that Monday. If you are awarded, school terms and conditions will be due on Friday, May 13th. And actually, Ashley, I just realized that I have a mistake here, everybody, and I apologize about that, because the school health index is actually due on Friday the 31st. So I apologize. I just realized that that was an error. So I'll move that when I send out these slides to you guys. So it'll be terms and conditions and school health index on May 31st. And then on Friday the 13th, it's midterm report and 2 photos. Every Kid Healthy Week is Friday, May, for the survey is the 27th. And then Every Kid Healthy Week would be in April. And then in May, we have our final report and the final school health index and 3 photos. So again, this is on your application, and that will definitely help you to keep track of all the deadlines. All right, Ashley, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Before we wrap up, any other big questions, or do we want to take a moment to open the floor? What do you think?
Yeah, so I don't have any questions in the chat box right now. All of those have been answered. If we have a few minutes and want to open up the floor, we can definitely look into doing that. But otherwise, I have all the questions currently answered.
Okay, awesome. How many did we get? Did we get a number of them?
Yes, yeah, we got a lot too, talking about different ideas and what types of projects fall into the Game On structure. So I think that there are already a lot of great ideas out there, and I'm excited to start seeing these applications come in.
Awesome. Yeah. And thank you, Ashley, for taking the time. I know that can be like a furious task, like trying to answer all those questions like in the short period of time. So thank you for doing that today. I'm sure everyone's really grateful. All right. Well, we're almost to the top of the hour. If you have a question that you didn't get answered today, please reach out to us. You can email us at schoolgrants@actionforhealthykids.org. As I had mentioned, we're also going to give you the contact information for our regional managers and state coordinators so that you know who to contact when you need support and assistance with your grant application. So definitely follow us for more resources, stay up to date on success stories, health tips, physical activity games, recipes, opportunities, and ideas for action. We know that we can't do this alone, so stay connected to us. There's great work happening out there, and we want to know about it. So we look forward to working with you in the future. And if you have additional questions after this webinar, we're going to follow up with you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We know it was a lot of information, but we're truly excited for 2019 and 2020, and hopefully working with your school to support healthy and active learning environments. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and we will hopefully talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.